Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here. Welcome to my review for the Dimetro Blazing Zord from Power Rangers Dino Fury. And a bit of a surprise if you didn't know, this suddenly has come out this year, as it appeared we had skipped all of the auxiliaries for the Dino Fury series, only releasing the main Megazords. However, this unexpectedly showed up a while ago, and now we're finally getting it here in the US. No word as to whether we're going to finish the rest, but it's nice that we are going to be able to complete the Ultra Zord formation for the Fusion Ultrazord, as I always felt that this was one that they should have released. And before we get started, does anyone want to get out? I just wanted to highlight the box. I haven't been doing as much of the box going overs, to use a technical term, but I wanted to just show the cool art on this because I do appreciate some of the cool art the Power Rangers packages will have. And this one in particular is really cool, so if you're someone that like keeps your boxes on display or whatever, it's an overall really cool box. Even some box art of the Fusion Ultrazord formation there. And then just kind of a weird profile shot. I kind of wish it was a profile shot of the main blazing formation. But yeah, I just wanted to show that off. And now we take a look at a nice, serene white background. No, but here, this is the floor. No. Here's the Dimetro Zord here. Overall, pretty much exactly what you'd expect. Just as far as it by itself, you know, overall, in my opinion, looks good. I will be doing a comparison to the Japanese version. I do have the Japanese version to compare just for this. Unfortunately, I put all of my main Megazords from Ryusoulger away in storage, so I'm not going to be able to do a physical comparison of the Megazord formations. However, I will put up a picture, and obviously I have experience with both, so I'll be able to go over the significant differences, but you'll obviously know the core differences if you're familiar with the Dino Fury and Ryusoulger lines. But I overall think this thing looks really good. I'm personally a fan of the Dino Fury Zords. I think they look really good and comparable to the Zords from Ryusoulger. You know, you have a little bit of that cheap gray plastic feeling, but for the most part, it nails all the details. It doesn't feel like there's any like significant missing paint details, like with the eyes or anything. It all has personality. You know, it's got a little bit of a darker tinge to its plastic for the spikes compared to the Japanese one, which you'll see, which I actually just kind of like. And it overall feels solid, which is nice. I feel that these are, I know some people have had some problems with the breaking of the joints and stuff, but for me, I haven't had any problems with that with the Dino Fury ones. Outside of that one, it was a ball joint that broke on my green one, not one of the pegs here, but they feel solid. It doesn't feel cheap, and it overall looks really good, and I'm happy with it. So just like having this as part of my collection, I'm happy with. Now, before we get to comparison, this does come with some extra pieces, these little wing blade pieces that it shows you putting on here. And then pairing it with these little fists that it comes with. And this is like the way they show it, basically. That's like what they advertise on the box. Obviously, you can see there's different ports all around, so you can do different customization, which is nice. It feels a little bit weird and unnecessary, just because I feel like it's something that you would include if you had a Zord you were worried about having possibilities of like playability, and you'd be like, well, how do we make this thing seem more enticing? I'm like, I don't know, just add these things in. Maybe they're figuring if someone buys it on its own, it gives you more to do with. It just seems a little bit weird and kind of unnecessary, but at the end of the day, it gives you extra pieces, so if you're someone that likes to do fun customization, you can do that. And obviously you can see from these that they also have little handles, so they can act as secondary weapons. So, unnecessary, but a harmless addition. Whoops, I just totally ripped this dude's head off. Sorry. Alright, but now we have him next to the Ryusoulger counterpart, and honestly the differences for me aren't really that significant. I mean, you can tell certain things like the slight difference in the paint color on the head, and obviously this one has a lighter orange plastic you can see there. You actually have some little extra details that shine through here that don't shine through on that one. A little bit of a darker gray plastic for that. Honestly, I think these are one of the most comparable ones. Like, usually you'll have some more significant details on some of the ones that you're missing, and you have like this piece here, you have the blue paint on that, you don't have that on here. So you have little details here and there, but just talking about the individual, this looks like they're about to kiss, like this is getting weird. And also, before I forget to show it, the mouth does open a little bit, but just in terms of talking about them by themselves, not talking about any of the together modes or anything like that, they're really comparable for me. There is some differences, but they both look of a very similar quality, so it's not like one of those cases where you see them side by side and there's like a significant difference, or even a difference enough to be like, yeah, this is the collector's grade version. Like, just by themselves, like, yeah, there's some subtle little differences here and there you can see in the heads as well, but I find them to be very comparable just in their individual modes. Now I'm going to go ahead and start combining. We're going to start with the Spino Thunder / Lightning Zord mode. Again, I will be showing picture comparisons and discussing comparisons of how they look, having had experience with both versions. Alright, just for the key by itself, pretty much your standard fare. You know, this is the Megazord version, quote-unquote, that includes the much more well-rounded, articulated head. It's a little bit more translucent-y, almost feeling like a translucent special edition than it is in the show. I know they're trying to go for the Flames vibe, but it seems a little bit awkward and off and makes it look a little bit cheaper in my opinion. Obviously, they are going to work in the Morpher. They always advertise it working in this as if it does different noises. I want to remind you, this thing doesn't have a reader. It will work with it, but it will It will work with it, but it will activate the same exact generic sounds all of them do because it's all just based on a key activating it. But at least it gives me an excuse to pull out this awesome song. And you can work it with the original one, although there's nothing hugely new about it. It is a little bit easier if you pop this off, and then obviously you can see the little knight mold underneath there, but you can work it with this. And you can sort of force it with the other way, but if you take off the helmet piece, it just makes it easier. Alright, here we have the Lightning Zord or the Spino Thunder Resoldier, which always sounded like a weird cutting-edge surgery, like, I'm afraid we're gonna have to do a Spino Thunder. It just injects Tokusatsu right into your spine. You'll be fine. But anyway, I've never been a huge fan of this mode. I appreciate the creativity of it, like, but it almost seems like one of the, modes on the box that advertise, like, hey, you can do whatever the F you want with it, and here's the monster you can create. I feel like it made its way into the show, especially like the CG version of the show, which it's awkward. It's like a Frankenstein creature, but I appreciate the creativity of it. In regards to the comparison and all that and the look of it, I mean, it overall looks fine. Like I said, it's not my personal cup of tea design-wise, but as for the toy, I think it's like mostly the same as the Japanese version. I will say, and this isn't in a, oh, the Ryusoulger one's so superior because it's Japanese, but I will say I do feel like the Japanese one held together a little bit better. I think that it had a little bit more of a concise formation for this. It was just a little bit more streamlined and concise. I mean, you have like weird bits, like because you have the articulation here, like the Japanese one didn't have these elbows here, so it was a little bit less awkward. Just stuff like that. Again, for me, it's not a huge game changer. I'll like try to put up a side-by-side and just a cutaway to a couple pictures so you can see what it looks like. And it's not a game changer for me, but it definitely just felt a little bit more solid and concise. And honestly, my only real problem dealing with this was Gold's tail here, as this piece is super loose on mine and is always falling off, but that has absolutely nothing to do with the Dimetro Zord. But anyway, let's go ahead and now do just the basic transformation with the T-Rex Champion Zord. Alright, so here we have the Blazing Megazords. Obviously, the key differences in terms of the Japanese version comes down to the fact that this is a different, more articulated mold that overall, in terms of proportions, looks more like the suit in the show. I think within the context of the Dino Fury Megazord, this overall looks pretty solid. A little bit funky in some ways, but overall solid if you like this. Just a random comment about the design, which I feel like I probably commented on my Ryusoulger review. I feel like I instinctively want these little lightning bolts to be on the outside because I feel like you're more clearly going to be able to see the lightning bolt designs on the outside of here than the Lego pegs. Like, I instinctually want to put these on the outside, but they literally won't fit if you do it that way. But I always just thought that was a weird design detail. That's more of a critique of the overall design of it. I will say, again, I'll put up a picture-in-picture here of the Japanese version. Obviously, you're going to have the differences in the general look. Like, this one is going to look more proportionately accurate. The original ones are a little bit more stiff. Obviously, you have the different ports and all that type of stuff. One advantage I will say the Japanese version has, though, is the head. The helmet here on this one is this little bit more of a translucent look, whereas the other one kind of has more of that like shiny orange armored vibe to the face, which is technically more accurate to the show. Like, this one here on the left is more accurate to the proportions of the show, but the other one's a little bit more accurate to the way that the helmet looks in general in the show. And I would say that's the only thing that really bugs me about this version is I don't like the overly translucent head. It looks like a really weird special edition. Alright, but now let's go ahead and take a look at the final Fusion Ultrazord transformation, combining it with the Razor Zord. Alright, and there we have the Fusion Ultrazord, which I think looks decent in this setup. Obviously, again, it does offer you a slightly more accurate in terms of proportion version of it, in terms of it not looking so blocky compared to the Ryusoulger version. In fact, again, I'll put away a little side-by-side, maybe a cutaway, maybe both. I don't know what Future Me's up to. He could be putting up footage of Scream 6 right now. I don't know what he's doing, but hopefully it's pictures of this comparison. But you pretty much know the differences by now. Again, different system. They're usually blockier and more traditional Sentai mech, whereas these are a little bit more accurate to the way the suit looks in the show. They give you more slight articulation, although when you get into this type of mode, you are hindered a little bit. Obviously, like with the arms and stuff, I can move them out and I can spread the legs out a little bit. Hey-oh, and you can kind of give it a slightly more dynamic look. This mode is a little bit more hindered because like the armor piece here for the helmet is it's like stationary, so you can't really, I mean, you can move the head behind it, sort of, but it also stops that. But you can move the head behind it, but this piece isn't going to move with it, so you lose the head articulation, and then these little pieces here create a little bit awkwardness in the leg articulation, not to mention the heft from the bottom of it, so you're not going to be getting as much articulation, and it creates a mode that, in my opinion, although it looks completely fine for the Dino Fury Zords, feels a little bit more messy and harder to deal with compared to the other, like, bigger combined modes from the past. And I overall do like it for what it is, and I think it fits in nicely with the line, but like in terms of the combined modes in general, I just feel that they're a little bit messier for my taste, even though it has some positives to it. But now we get on to the final verdict. Overall, I think it's a solid Zord as the whole package goes. You know, if you are collecting the Dino Fury Zords and you've been waiting this to expand and hopefully complete your collection in the future, I can definitely recommend checking it out. Like I said at the beginning of the review, just for like the solo Zord by itself, I think it looks really good, absolutely comparable to the original version. You know, obviously you get all the playability, you get all the different modes. You know, your opinion may vary on what you like about them and what you don't like about them compared to the Japanese version. I think they got their cons, but I think they work exactly the way they should be. They give you all the modes you need. You know, if you want to complete your collection with that, it's fine. Even if I feel that some of the combined modes are a little bit messier than other combined modes of the Dino Fury line, just talking about the Zord by himself, I think it's a solid release. My only real complaints, again, coming from the clunky modes, and I'm not too big of a fan of the overly translucent key. Now, I don't know, as of this recording, if we're going to complete the rest of the line. You know, you could be from the future and they've completed the line and then some, but as of this recording, this is the only additional one, and I just wanted to say at the end that I am glad that they did release this version, because I feel of all the auxiliaries, this should have been the one to release if they skipped any. You know, skip the other two, that's fine, but this one was kind of like a main auxiliary and is used for a main Ultra Zord formation, so I'm glad that we at least got this one before Dino Fury closes shop for Cosmic Fury. But that's about it for this one. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you can get notifications for all my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.